Hi guys, welcome back to my itty bitty kitchen. Today I am going to be cooking for you, but it's no longer March, so I guess we can't call it March Munchies. John, are we calling this April Munchies, or is this just a cooking video? I don't know. Let me know what we should call these going forward. I plan to do a cooking video at least once a month, so you let me know. Today I'm going to be making turkey meatballs stuffed with cheese. And for my husband over pasta, for myself over zoodles, zucchini noodles, which I have never done. So we're going to figure this out, but I pulled out all the ingredients so I can show you. I have a pound of turkey from our local butcher. So these doesn't have stats, but I'm just going to look up the stats for a pound of turkey. Mixed into it, I'm going to mix in 1 egg, probably about 1/3 of the onion. I always go too heavy on the onion because onions are life, right, Jess? And I'm going to mix in some reduced sugar ketchup. I'm going to mix in some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to mix in some garlic. I'm going to mix in some mozzarella cheese into the meat itself. And I'm going to mix in, normally when I would make these pre-op, I would use breadcrumbs, but I find that using just unflavored protein powder works pretty nicely. So this is just one that I found at a local health food store, but I guess any kind of unflavored protein powder would work as like a binding agent, and then some seasonings. So for seasonings, I have Tony's, paprika, chili powder, cayenne, cumin, parsley, basil, and oregano. So that's going to be for the meatballs themselves. And then for the sauce, I kind of cheat on the sauce. Sometimes I make like a real good tomato sauce from scratch, but I usually cheat on it. I start with the Prego. I like the one that's flavored with meat. I'm also going to add in diced tomatoes. I feel like that gives it a nice consistency. I'll probably add onion and garlic as well, and some seasoning. So same kind of flavors. And then for my husband, we're gonna do it all over angel hair pasta. He really likes the angel hair as opposed to like the spaghetti, just because it's thinner. And for myself, I'm going to use this slicer, thing that my mom bought me. And I've seen these at Walmart and lots of grocery stores. I don't think they're very expensive, maybe like $10. But I'm going to make an attempt. I make zucchini all the time, but I just like slice it and bake it in the oven. So these are pretty big. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but I'll start with one and see how it goes. So here we go. Oh, I forgot to mention that to make the meatballs stuffed with cheese, I'm going to use string cheese and cut it into bits and stuff that in the meatball itself. So I chopped the onions a little bit finer than I normally do for normal cooking, just because this is going in the meatballs themselves, so I don't want it to be like big chunks of onion, So I've actually never used the reduced sugar ketchup before. There was a store brand and the Heinz, and I compared the stats. This one has 5 calories per tablespoon, 1 carb, and 1 sugar. The store brand was 4 carbs and 2 sugars for 1 tablespoon, so significantly worse. So even though this one was a little bit more expensive, I decided to go with this one. I've never tried it. I don't know how it tastes, but I guess we'll see. Okay, so I'm about to stick my hands in here and mix it all up. What I have is a pound of turkey, a quarter cup of Parmesan cheese, all the seasonings that you saw, 1 egg, some Worcestershire sauce. The onion was 100 grams. I like to measure in grams. I just think it's more precise on the scale because smaller numbers. What else did I put in there? Oh, a teaspoon of garlic, 1 tablespoon of the sugar, and 1 scoop of the protein powder. I think that was it. Oh, but before I mix it all up, I'm going to prepare my string cheeses, and I'm going to prepare my pan. So the string cheeses, I cut them into little pieces that are maybe 1 inch high. I got 6 out of each slice. So here I have 18. I don't know if that's going to be too much or not enough, but I guess we'll see. Alright, so as you can see, the consistency, if you normally do this with ground beef, it's going to be a little bit drier. Turkey and chicken tend to not be as dry. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more protein powder and maybe a little bit more cheese. Yeah, that looks better. It's not as goopy. It's not as runny. I ended up adding another quarter cup of the mozzarella cheese and a half scoop of the protein powder. In my case, 1 scoop is 22 grams. That's just what it says on the side of the thing. So I ended up using 22 the first time and 11 grams the second time. So I like my meatballs to be pretty big. So I just take some meat, stick a little string cheese guy in there, and wrap it up in the meat, plop them down. Okay, so as you can see, I ended up with 9 pretty big meatballs and 1 little bitty tiny one. Don't you hate it when it's like not enough to make another one, but if I were to add that one to another one, then it would be too big? Anyway, I'm gonna pop these guys in the oven. I have my oven preheating to 400. So I'm gonna put them in there, check them after about 15 minutes, and while they're in the oven, I'm gonna work on my sauce and my noodles. Okay, so for the sauce, I'm going to start with the olive oil, add in the onions, garlic, tomatoes, let that kind of cook down a little bit. And then I'm going to add the Prego sauce, maybe a little Fairlife milk to make it a little creamier, some cheese probably, just because it'll make it really good, and then season it. Drain most of the water out of these tomatoes. I don't think we're going to need a lot of extra water. It's important to let your onions fry up a little bit before you start. Just until they get a little bit translucent. Nobody wants like raw onion. So you let it cook up a little first. Now, as you can see, the diced tomatoes are pretty thick, and I like my sauce, my marinara sauce, to be pretty thick. So, you know, if you don't like that, you can skip the tomatoes altogether, I guess. You know how a lot of people add just a hint of sugar to their marinara sauces to like cut the acidity of the tomatoes. That's why I always use ketchup. This is my first time using the reduced sugar ketchup, but I think it'll probably have the same effect. So I just want to show you my marinara. It's got a really nice consistency from the tomatoes and the cheese, and I added just a little bit of Fairlife milk to make it a little bit creamier. So I've added in all my seasonings. I'm gonna let this simmer. My pasta's boiling. The meatballs are going to be ready in 30 seconds, so I'm going to take them out, see how they look. Then I'm going to do my zucchini noodles. I read online that you really only have to do like 2 or 3 minutes tossed in olive oil for them to cook, so that should go pretty quick. Alright, here are the meatballs. Don't they look wonderful? They smell excellent. And I'm gonna stick a meat thermometer in them just in case, but I'm pretty sure they're ready. Yeah, we're at like 175, and I think 165 is the number, so I think we're good. So I'm just draining the pasta here. This is just plain old pasta. I'm gonna set it aside while I work on the zucchini noodles. Okay, so it's my first time using one of these, and I'm inspecting it here. It looks like there's 2 different ends. So like this end is for that size noodles, and this end is for slightly wider noodles. So I guess I'm gonna do the small ones. I don't know. First time for everything. Can you see this? Look how cool. They come right out. Huh. Alright, so to be honest, I think that's going to be more than enough for me. Look how the zucchini turns out. So I'm just going to stop at halfway of the zucchini and just use these. Instead of putting olive oil in the bottom of the pan, I'm just going to spray with a little bit of olive oil pan. So I decided to just go ahead and do the whole thing because I can just like store them cooked in that way, but it seems like once I get to this distance it's not enough. So this I'll probably just chop up. So I don't know how to tell when they're ready. I mean, they're kind of wilty now, so I guess they're almost done. I'm gonna poke at them a little bit longer and then call it a day. Alright, so my noodles are pretty wilty. I think I'm just gonna turn it off, call it a day with these guys. My sauce has been simmering and it looks and smells wonderful. And my meatballs, as you saw, are looking fabulous. They're a little bit smushed, but that's okay. About to just eat the little baby one and see how it came out. Super good. I mean, this one is mostly cheese in the middle because it's so small. But the flavor of the turkey is just so good with all those seasonings. So I'm gonna put it all on a plate and show you how it came out. Thanks for cooking with me. So here I've got 2 meatballs, about a half cup of sauce, and about a quarter cup of the noodles. I'm not sure if I'll be able to eat all this, but it sure looks good. If I get into this meatball here, we've got that cheese. I'm excited.